Hello everyone. I would like to share a scripture with you, a scriptural lesson with you. I look at the life of Prophet Jeremiah. This was a man that God sent to the people of Israel. And the core of his message was about the Israelites being captured by Nebuchadnezzar. And this went on and on. He went to prison because of it. He was starved because of it, just because he was communicating God's message. But something happened towards the end that was really surprising. Nebuchadnezzar had come, as God said, he had captured some Israelites, he burned the city, and he left a few folks. And the folks went to Jeremiah to inquire from the Lord, what's the Lord's counsel for them? Should they stay in the land or should they leave? And Jeremiah came back to tell the people, stay in the land. And for me, that was actually very heavy. That the same man that God has been sending to these people, telling them, leave the land, follow Nebuchadnezzar for many, many years. God can still talk to the same man to tell the people, stay in the land. And it shows to me that Jeremiah as a prophet was really true to God. He wasn't looking at his own reputation, because if he was considering his reputation, he wouldn't have communicated that message to the people. He would have just, stick to what God was saying. But he was vulnerable enough to let people know, yes, I've been the one God has been sending to you to leave the land. I'm still the one telling you that God is telling you now to stay in the land. And that is one thing as believers that we must be willing to. We must be willing to follow God as He leads us. Look at Peter, for example. Yes, there was a time that God told the Israelites, do not eat some kind of animals. But the same God showed Peter in a vision that brought various types of animals for him to eat. And Peter said, no, I've never eaten this and I'm not going to eat it. Despite that, the animals were God's provision. Peter was stuck where God had left. And that's one thing that we must never do as believers. If you want to follow God's perfect will for our lives, we must learn not to be stuck where God has left. We must learn to always follow God as He moves. So when Jesus Christ came, He gave us it's one of the challenges that the Pharisees had. Many of the things that Jesus did were the things that were not really in accordance to their practices. For example, people were washing with unwashing hand, which was not part of their practice. So there are so many things that they were doing that disciples did, healing people on the Sabbath day, for example. Those are not things that they were practicing. What they were told by Moses, Sabbath day must be kept holy. Do not honor God, do not do any work. But God had left that commandment, but we were still stuck in it. So in our personal life, we have to be very careful. There could be friends that God had left, but we are stuck with them. There could be places that God had left, but we are stuck in such places. So it's something that we must be willing to seek God's face continuously, to know if we are stuck where He has left. Because when we are, our ability to fulfill His purpose to the utmost becomes hindered. God had to raise Paul, who chose not to be stuck where God had left, like Peter did. In fact, it was the same Paul that corrected Peter in the book of Galatians. Because Peter, when he saw that the Jews came, he was already eating with the Gentiles, but when the Jews came, he pulled back, and Paul had to correct him. So Peter was stuck where God had left. He couldn't fulfill everything that God had in mind for him. Paul chose not to be stuck where God had left, and he did more than anyone could have ever imagined. So I encourage you today, see God's face. Don't be stuck where God had left. Make sure you are always walking, in consonance with God's will. God bless you.